So, Jamie, long time no see. And we
won't say how many years.
20 plus. Did you graduate from El Toro or no?
No, I ended up at Horizons.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Do you guys have a reunion coming up or no?
I would have been class of 2018, so they're probably doing a reunion next year.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Yeah.
Wait, you finished in 2018? What do you mean?
I mean, not 98. Sorry. I meant 98, so they'll be doing a reunion in 18.
One class a year, huh? Something like that? Your story is an interesting one. I was kind of watching that old video you sent me a while back on, basically, I guess, kind of like what started this whole process for you. And I know you probably told the story 1.5 million times, but if you kind of want to do it again, you can start it off and I can kind of jump in and we can just kind of talk about it.
For sure. Okay, so my son, was developing perfectly normal. He was going to all his doctor's visits. Doctors never saw red flags. I didn't see red flags. He had a very clear vocabulary, meeting all of the milestones on target. Mm-hmm. And then, so we go for his 18-month shots. And I even asked the doctor, I was like, is there anything I need to, is there any side effects I need to be worried about, anything? And she was like, just, redness at the injection site, crankiness, and fever. I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. So, do that, and I bring him home, and he literally starts screaming, like a crazy ass scream. Like, I have 4 kids, and no scream comes even close to that scream, and it didn't stop for 2 days. Like, he didn't eat, didn't sleep, nothing. He's literally cried for 2 days, and had a fever of 104.7 that wouldn't go away.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, and the doctors were like, it's normal, just, give him Tylenol. So then finally after 2 days, the screaming stopped, the fever broke, and he could no longer verbally communicate.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what's going on, right?
Yeah, because at that point, if a fever is going on for that long, you're in the kids, how old was he at the time?
18 months.
18 months, yeah. That's like prime developmental age, and problems are going to start happening.
Right. And, okay, so he immediately regressed. And within 2 weeks, he no longer made eye contact. He lost, motor skills. He couldn't walk very good anymore. He was tumbling over, tiptoe walking on his tiptoes.
Wow.
Constantly banging his head. I mean, anything he could get his hands on. If he couldn't get his hands on something, he'd bang his head on the ground. Like, he was constantly banging his head.
So he's doing it on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hitting himself in the head, just, constant, right? Mm-hmm. And then, he goes into the doctor and everything, and, the doctor was like, well, I wouldn't vaccinate him anymore. And so I was like, so it was the vaccines, which, I already knew.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I won't go on record saying that. But, not only as your doctor, but as a mother, I urge you not to vaccinate your son anymore. I'm like, would have been nice if you had told me this beforehand.
Yeah.
But, so, he goes and gets in all the appointments with all the specialists, and he gets his autism diagnosis, and, get him into all the services that were available, stop vaccinating him. Mm-hmm. And he also developed seizures at that time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so he had his first seizure. He went limp in my arms, turned blue and went limp in my arms. I had to do CPR on him while I waited for the paramedics. And when we get to the hospital, the doctor was like, well, seizures can be a side effect of vaccines. And I was like, what the don't cuss.
It's okay. I cuss all the fucking time on my show.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck?
There you go.
It's a side effect? Why? I wasn't told this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but seizures aren't dangerous. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? He just went limp in my arms. If I didn't know CPR, my kid would be dead. What do you fucking mean it's dangerous?
Right.
Right? So, there was that. And so he developed some seizures, but we got him into services, all kinds of therapies that were available. We were in Orange County. Really great services were available and everything. And he was back on track within a few years. They removed the diagnosis, the autism diagnosis, because he no longer fit the criteria. He was walking, just almost 100% normal. He had a few little issues, but nothing that was serious, just some sensory issues, but nothing serious. Seizures had stopped, everything. I mean, totally normal. Mm-hmm. And then at age 5, he was caught up to date on his vaccines without my consent, and immediately regressed. Everything comes back, all these things. And then what do you know? They returned the autism diagnosis. And I'm like, and his medical file actually says vaccine-induced autism.
I remember, I read that, yeah.
So it's like, even if it's not just my word, I have tons of doctors that reviewed his case and saw him, and they put that in his file. But it's like, he was totally normal, got his shots, regressed, got autism, stopped all that, he was back on track, gets shots again, and he's diagnosed with autism again. Like,
wow, yeah.
That's a pretty big coincidence.
Right, exactly. And so this is basically what started your whole movement of kind of like being an anti-vaxxer, I guess, as far as classification's concerned. And, I mean, does that mean you're against other people vaccinating their kids? Like, what's your stance on that?
Okay, so I mean, if other people want to vaccinate, I firmly believe, like, I make the choices for me and my family. You make the ones for you and family. I don't have to agree with what you do because it's not my life to live. It's your life. Like, I don't get the right to tell you what to do. My one thing that I'm really big on, though, is I want informed consent. Like, there has to be informed consent. We are not getting informed on the actual side effects of vaccines. There's no other, like, if you look at other pharmaceutical medications, look at a Viagra commercial. They list a gazillion side effects, right?
Yeah.
But then with vaccines, they're like, oh, no, there's no side effects. But then my kid has a seizure, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's a side effect. Well, I didn't give informed consent then because I wasn't informed of what's really going on. That's my thing. Like, if you want to vaccinate, go for it. But I just want there to be real informed consent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because as a therapist, I have to do that. As a matter of fact, I had two new clients today, and I had to give them informed consent, letting them know, what we talk about, who I'm not going to be talking to, who I will be talking to, and why I would be talking to them about anything that we discuss. And and even though they're like 9-year-old kids, they still have to know that. So that way I cover my ass, basically, right? So I don't want to get sued.
And as humans, we all deserve to have informed consent. Like, whatever's going on, we deserve to be fully informed, right? I mean, that's a basic human right.
Exactly.
Not asking for much.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to know what you're doing. None of your business. That's why I texted you that picture the other day of that flu shot thing, because I knew, we were... Obviously, you took over my page for about a week. It's cool. Yeah. I kind of posted it knowing you were going to respond at some point, because I know that's what you do. And the whole thing actually came from that post I had, came from watching Family Guy. There was an episode, I think, where Lois wanted to vaccinate Stewie or something like that, and there were some problems or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but that's where I got this idea. I'm like, if other countries aren't vaccinating their kids the way we are, how are these people surviving? When I say other countries, I mean like third world countries.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they doing to their children to make them survive? And if this is needed, then was this needed 100 years ago, 200 years ago? Like, what's the difference? How were we vaccinated in the late 70s, early 80s, as opposed to how kids are vaccinated now? I'm not opposed to vaccinations altogether, because obviously I'm fine, as far as I know. But that's the thing, is that we don't really know how people are tested prior to vaccination. What have you understood regarding prior testing, or is there any?
There is none. And so after the fact, you can get all this testing done, which is out of pocket. It's not covered by insurance. I've paid thousands and thousands of dollars for all this testing for my son.
Okay. Out
of pocket. So now we know he can't be vaccinated. But he's already damaged. Like, there was no testing in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, think about it. There's no such thing as one size fits all. Like, some people are allergic to dairy. Some people are allergic to penicillin. Like, we're all made up differently. Like, we're all going to react differently to bee stings, whatever it may be. I mean, we all have different reactions to things. So how come we're giving a one-size-fits-all to all these kids, and we don't know? And, there's never, ever been a study done on all the vaccines we're giving. Like, so in 1983, kids got 24 vaccines. 2016, it's 69 vaccines. Wow. And that schedule's never been studied.
Wow. That's a huge jump.
It's a huge, huge jump. And, like, in 1986, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that vaccines are unavoidably unsafe, and therefore vaccine manufacturers cannot be held accountable for death and damages. They're the only industry that has that type of freedom. You know what I mean? Like, if you get hurt by any other pharmaceutical medication, you can sue them. I mean, it's the United States. Who can't you sue, right?
Right.
But, yeah, you can't sue them. So there's a special court set up that us taxpayers, pay for.
Right.
And it's next to impossible to even get through it. By the time I found out that court existed, the statute of limitations had expired, and yeah.
That
So
sucks.
we paid out in tax dollars almost $4 billion, like 3.6, I think, at this point, of our tax dollars. Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah. And it makes me think, as you just said, regarding the responsibility, basically of people vaccinating your kids and then saying, well, now you can't sue us because you're supposed to be, these are unsafe. Well, then if they're unsafe, then it's almost like a requirement. I don't even know if kids can go to school, public school, if they're not vaccinated.
In California, that was actually why we left California. The SB 277 was passed, which means all children need to be completely vaccinated to attend daycare, public school, private school, it doesn't matter. And so that's why we left. Like, my kids are medically exempt from vaccines because of my son's issues. So
Okay.
The doctors and everything said that, our genetic issues, we cannot be vaccinated. So the law didn't even apply to us. But still, I was just like, I'm not going to stay here and pay taxes in this state that's stripping away parental rights. I fought really hard against SB 277. I met with a lot of legislators. A lot of us fought. And it just fell on deaf ears because
they don't care.
They don't care. They're getting paid by the pharmaceutical industry. Their campaigns are funded there. So,
yeah.
But it's like, okay, so for example, if a kid has hepatitis B, they're allowed to attend public school, as they should be. They should not be discriminated against. I don't feel that would be okay. So if you have hepatitis B, you can attend school. But if you've had all your vaccines except the Hep B vaccine, you're missing that one, you can't attend school because they say you're a threat because you're not vaccinated. But a child with the actual live disease can attend the school.
Wow.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But
it makes me want to question, and I know yesterday when I posted a thing about my, police violence and why are police still getting, paid from taxpayer dollars if they've done something horribly egregious, and a question you posted or a response you posted in response to that also was similar to a response I posted on something else. I think someone tagged me in regarding vaccinations. My buddy Eric Klein tagged me in it about vaccinations. And my question was, for those situations, which I may have actually put on my Facebook wall last week as well, but for those situations where kids are getting vaccinated and problems happen like with your son, why are the parents now held responsible for taking care of that financial burden for the rest of that child's life, whether it's services or extra help and care at home, whatever it is? Where should that money be coming from? Where should that financial assistance be coming from, in your opinion?
It should be just like with anything else. If you're hurt by any other medication, you sue and you get compensated for it.
Yeah.
And so that's another issue. I don't feel they have the incentive to make safer vaccines because they could make them safer. They could get rid of those shit things they put in there.
Yeah.
But there's no incentive because they're untouchable. Right? They can't sue them. They're not going to pay for the damages done, so they have no incentive to make them better. But yeah, why I have paid so much money out of pocket, and I still do. We make decent money. We're not like, super poor or anything, but we have so many medical bills for my son that we're barely getting by.
Yeah.
And that's, the financial aspect, that's not right. Also, not the aspect that my kid is suffering, but it's like, why am I being forced to pay for your damages?
Right, yeah, exactly. And I kind of feel like it's almost like this fear mongering. And I was talking to my buddy last night, and I was comparing it to the fear Americans have of Muslims, where a couple Muslims have done some things, but I wonder how many Catholics have done some things, or some Christians, or some, atheists, or what have you, right? It's just like this fear. If you don't do this, this is going to happen, right? So if you don't vaccinate your kids are going to die, or other kids are going to die, or if we don't get rid of Muslims, we're all going to die. And it's like, I don't really believe that's actually true. Is that kind of where you think that's kind of headed to as well? Yeah,
I think there's definitely a lot of fear mongering, and then doctors use third world statistics to scare you. Can a child in a third world country die from the chickenpox? Most definitely. But pretty much anything could kill that child. Probably a common cold. I mean, they're so malnourished.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much at that point. In the United States, we have access to healthcare. We have sanitation. We have proper nutrition. You know what I mean? It's like they use this fear mongering, and it's like, it's sad.
Yeah, it really is. And you mentioned sanitation. I know in my post last week that was brought up, I believe, as another reason why maybe diseases are different now or less. I can't remember what, I think it was Rick who brought that up or something like that. But are there other factors that may have contributed to why there are so many more diseases now?
You know, I don't think there's more diseases today. I think we still have the same diseases. I mean, new ones come up, but it's like if you look at the charts, it'll show that like that the diseases that we vaccinate for were already declining, steadily declining prior to the vaccine being introduced, and that's because of things like that. Because we became smarter in general. We learned, hey, probably shouldn't let the kids play in the sewer water.
Don't drink the water hose water either.
Yeah. We grew up on that, though.
Yeah, we sure did.
And eating properly, washing hands. I mean, back in the day, they didn't wash hands. Like, they would do their little operations with no pain medications and cut you open and not wash hands. Like,
yeah.
You're asking, you know what I mean? But we didn't know back then. So as we get farther along, we learn more and more, and yeah.
Okay. Someone else had kind of asked you a question last week, which I don't think was intended to be a shot, but it may have come off like it was. It was the question, or the position of, you've done all this research, but you're no expert.
Right.
I don't think you're trying to come off as an expert, are you?
No, not at all. I know I'm not an expert. Like, no, I'm a mom with a fucked up kid that got fucked up by vaccines, and that put some passion in me to learn about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was a former healthcare worker. I was actually going to school to be an RN, but I chose not to pursue it anymore because I felt like we have more of a sick care versus healthcare. Like, okay, you're sick here. We're not going to cure that, but we'll give you this pill to cover those symptoms. But that pill creates another issue. So now we're going to give you this medication to cover up that symptom, which leads to another. And before you know it, you're on like 20 pills. Like, and I felt like I'm not okay with that. Like, I wanted to help people, and I don't feel like in that profession I could help people.
Interesting. That's a good point.
I found my calling, or whatever you want to call it, like here, like, volunteering with organizations on, health freedom, working, volunteering, doing stuff with other autistic families, things like that. Like, I feel like I found my groove with this.
Okay, right on. The other thing I should have brought up before, but whatever. Actually, a couple more things. Follow the money. The idea that the people who are pushing for kids to get vaccinated are maybe also the companies who are behind the sick care, so to speak. So I don't know the names of all the only company I can think of off the top of my head is Pfizer, right? I don't know if they're involved in pushing for kids to get vaccinated, and then whenever those issues arise, here's a referral from a doctor, which leads to a Pfizer-supported, funded company, or some sub-company of Pfizer. Have you found that that's actually happening, or is it more of like speculation on our part?
They're creating customers for life. I mean, I have a lot of friends that have severely damaged kids that will require medications for the rest of their lives just to live. So, I guess it's hard to find actual data on it, but if you just look at it, and see, okay, what is any business out there for? To make money, for profit,
course,
right? I mean,
right.
that's their bottom line. They want profit.
Right.
So, by creating customers for life, we got a pretty good profit coming in. And it's like, people say that doctors don't get paid for vaccines. That's not true. My pediatrician here, we met with legislators a few months ago, and he, on camera, spoke to the legislators, and he openly admitted that he loses $700,000 a year by not forcing all of his patients to be up to date on vaccines. Because they get payoff. They get X amount for each kid. And so if your patients aren't up to date, you're not getting that extra money from the insurance companies.
Interesting.
And so a lot of doctors now will kick patients out if you don't vaccinate. They're like, well, we're not going to see you anymore because it's not worth it to them. They're not making the money. And so people say that's a conspiracy theory. That's a myth. It's not true. Like, we have doctors on record saying, hey, I lose X amount of money each year for this.
Yeah, because they're not getting the bonuses, essentially.
Right.
That's interesting.
There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money involved in it. And, I mean, big business is big business.
Yeah. I almost feel like, I was going to mention this earlier, it feels like maybe for you and for other people who are fighting against it, that it feels like an uphill battle. Is that kind of how you would classify it?
Oh, most definitely. You know, it's because, you know, the term anti-vaxxer gets thrown out, and that's used as like a derogatory name, you know, like as you're ignorant or something, you know. Mm-hmm. And for the record, most of us anti-vaxxers were once like staunch pro-vax. Like, I used to be very pro-vax until my kid got hurt. Mm-hmm. So that's how most of us became anti-vaxxers. We were once pro-vaxxers.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an uphill battle. It falls on deaf ears, and then you have a lot of people that are really mean. I mean, I've had people call me all kinds of things, that they hope my fucking kids die of polio.
Jeez.
That you know, I know you would like to blame somebody for your son not being normal, but you can't blame the vaccines for not having a normal kid. You know, just like shitty comments like that, and you hear all the time, and it's. But, you know, I guess you develop thick skin over it.
Yeah, I guess
definitely.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? I mean, on a personal level, just how do you deal with that when you have people saying shitty things to you about your kids? Like, that's your kid, though, you know? It hurts.
I'm not going to lie, it hurts, you know, but I guess life, for me personally, I won't speak for other people, but, like, for me personally, like, life has taught me, like, not to show it when I'm being assaulted, for, you know what I mean? Like, when I come home, I'll let it out. But, like, while I'm out, you know, speaking or doing what I'm doing and these things are said to me, it's just like, you know what, I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to accomplish what I came for. I'm not going to let your, like, insults, like, break me down and steer me away from what I came for.
I gotcha. Okay. So you kind of just hold it in for a while till you get home, and then when you get home, let it
Drink some wine.
Watch your favorite TV show. What are you watching these days?
Okay, right now I'm watching Nurse Jackie.
Who's Nurse Jackie?
Nurse Jackie. It's about a very dedicated ER nurse. She's pretty cool, but she's got an opiate addiction.
Oh, interesting. That's an older show, isn't it? Like from CBS
it is.
A while back?
It is.
Okay.
I stick to my novellas. I like the Spanish novellas, but I'm breaking away for some, you know, American stuff.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So are you a part of any groups or programs out there that are just like hardcore, like kind of spreading the word, or what?
Yeah, you know, I volunteer with quite a few. There's Physicians for Informed Consent, and they are basically a bunch of doctors, you know, that are against vaccine mandates. They're not saying don't vaccinate or anything. They're just against They're, you know, want patients to have the rights, no mandates.
Yeah.
So I do some stuff for them. There's the Canary Party, which is awesome. I can't think of all the names. There's, I'm drawing a total blank. I work with a couple of them, volunteer.
Okay.
I wish I could name them because they're awesome, and I'm like drawing a blank right now.
Oh, it's okay. I saw
the Vaccine Safety Council of Minnesota.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I saw the videos that you sent to me, Vaxxer.com. Is that like a good, is that something you're attached to, or is that just a group who interviewed you?
Vaxxed. I'm wearing my Vaxxed shirt.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So you have a Vaxxed shirt. What is Vaxxed all about? As I blush.
So Vaxxed is a documentary that was put together by a couple people. I don't know if you've heard of Andy Wakefield. Everyone cites his study that was supposedly debunked, but it wasn't. He's in it. So basically what it is so there's this lead scientist from the CDC, Dr. William Thompson, and he came forward as a whistleblower and told this other doctor, Dr. Brian Hooker, and it's all recorded on phone. He's like, you know what, I feel really bad about this, but we found out that African-American boys have a 340% more likely chance of being diagnosed with autism if they're vaccinated with the MMR prior to the age of 36 months. Wow. We found this out, I believe, in 03 or 04. And we were ordered to destroy all the evidence. They had us destroy everything and then tweak the numbers and get the results they wanted. So we did this for a few years, and then we came out with a study saying that MMR doesn't cause autism when we knew it did. And so it's not just African American boys, but they're at the highest risk. But all of the population is at a greater risk, but significantly higher in African American boys.
Interesting.
And they destroyed it. But the documents are all online. You can download them for free. It's like 10,000 documents. Mm-hmm. But, and so he has whistleblower status. He's still currently at the CDC. So that's what Vax is about. It's talking about that, how it's just a documentary, documenting that story, which mainstream media refuses to touch.
And that's VAXXED?
Yes.
Okay, 2 X's.
Yeah.
3 would make it dirty.
3 would make it dirty.
What is MMR?
The MMR is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine.
Oh, because from a therapist perspective, MMR is mild mental retardation. So every time I hear MMR...
MMR caused it.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it is. So, and that's what Andrew Wakefield, I don't know if you've heard of him, he was the British doctor that got, debunked or whatever. And
right.
Basically, he did this study, and he never once claimed that the MMR vaccine causes autism. He just said more studies need to be done, and that he recommends taking away the MMR, having it be a single dose, because most vaccines you don't get in a single dose. You're getting the measles, mumps, and rubella at the same time in one injection. And he wanted, he said we should probably separate those. Do the measles at once, the mumps,
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a big reason why a lot of doctors don't want to speak out, is there's actually a term in their community, it's called, they don't want to get Wakefielded. Because he got, the pharmaceutical company tore him to pieces.
Yeah.
Some of the doctors that were on his study were exonerated and got their license back and everything, but they're retired. But, so that's what that movie's about.
Okay. Interesting.
Sorry, I go off on tangents.
No, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if you've heard my show, which you probably haven't, but I do it all the time. Every week, I make a lot of funny jokes, and the next thing you know, 5 topics later, like, oh, by the way, let's get back to the main topic.
All right.
I got the ADHD thing going on. Probably from all the fucking vaccines I took when I was a kid.
Well, we didn't get too many, so we're good.
Yeah, seriously. Is there a plan, I guess, in the future for more vaccinations to be included, or are they going to start cutting back now that there's people out there? What do you know about?
There are, I believe, there's 271 vaccines in the pipeline right now, so they're working on 271 more vaccines.
In addition to the 69 current?
Yeah.
That's over 350, 330, 340. Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot, right? And so the thing is, we have the most aggressive vaccine schedule in the world. Mm-hmm. We vaccinate more than any other country, and we have one of the highest infant mortality rates. Right? We rank out of the developed countries. I think we're 32nd. I think Saudi Arabia ranks better than us.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And but we also vaccinate the most. We also have more chronically ill children. This is the first generation of kids in America. United States, that has a shorter life expectancy than their parents did. This is the first time that's happened.
Wow.
Because it's not just autism. There's cancer, autoimmune issues, asthma, diabetes, eczema. I mean, so many issues coming out right now. And I'm not saying the vaccines are causing it all, but why aren't we at least looking at it? Because all these issues exploded when our vaccine schedule exploded. So isn't it worth looking into at least?
Right. Causation does not mean correlation, but still it's worth looking at, because these are kids' lives, these are our lives, this is the future, and if the future is full of sick people, this country is going to fall apart, which is going to piss off a lot of Republicans. It's their country, apparently. I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
Sorry, I hate Republicans. But yeah, it's just something I think we definitely need to look at and deal with, because, the future is now, essentially. And I think the longer we take to really look into these issues, the worse it's going to become.
Yeah, why? I don't understand why people are so against looking into it. Why? I mean, who doesn't want the best health possible, right?
Right.
Nobody's going to lose anything.
I think because they feel like they're already getting it, because the vaccines that they're told to take they're being told to take. It's funny that some people who are very much like, oh, you have to vaccinate your kids, you have to do this, this, and this, or else, this fear-mongering thing, they fear the worst is going to happen. But yet, they don't think the same when it comes to other things. They don't just do what the government says. They do the opposite because they know how to think differently. But that's just how people kind of think sometimes. It's, well, you have to do this because the government says so, and I have a fear, but you don't have to do this because the government says so, and I don't have a fear.
Right.
And,
like, when has the government, let's be real, like, when has the government ever, like, done something really for the people? Like, when are they really, truly on our side? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at, like Flint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
No.
Kids are getting hurt every day, and they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I choose not to rely on my government for anything.
You're right. Exactly. It's very interesting just how much, I mean, they've had water issues since over a year or two ago, and it's insane. I think I just read an article the other day that they just got granted 100 mil from the EPA for new pipes or for reconstruction of new pipes. Who knows if that'll get, I don't know if that actually just, here's a check and here you go, or if it's a process, or appeal process, who knows. But
and why aren't we criminally prosecuting those that are responsible for it?
Bingo, exactly.
Why are they still getting their salary off our tax? Well, their tax salary. You know what I'm saying?
Right. The same thing with the cops who beat people and get fired, or take a leave of absence.
Why do they still get that?
Exactly. They shouldn't.
Why are you on a leave of absence? Like, I'm sorry, if I fuck up at my job, I don't get a paid leave of absence. It's like, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep.
Why? And I'm not like violating human rights. If you violate a human right, why are you on paid leave? And why do you still get your benefits?
Makes no sense to me. But that's how you know that we're not being served. They're serving their own purposes and serving themselves.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, those people lower on the totem pole don't realize they are also expendable.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And now we've gone far left. All right. Well, I thank you for joining me. This has been a great conversation, and I'm glad we didn't make it an interview. I mean, did it feel like an interview at all?
No.
I figured.
Not like total chill.
Yeah, I wrote down like 5 things in the middle of us talking, and that's my chicken scratch. I still write the same like a 4th grader. I probably fucking vaccinations. Anyway, well, thank you for joining me on my show for the first time in 4 months, and if I have another vaccination post, I'll let you know, like I did last time, and tell you to blow it up.
I'll jump in.
I'll talk to you soon. Hug Jason for me, okay?
I will. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.